Mr. Bendit, we only have a short time, so I'll cut right to the chase, if you don't mind. You rose to prominence in the 60s and 70s as a student action leader. For those of us under 40, what was all the fuss about back then? What was the nature of dissatisfaction then? And are there similarities between why people were protesting and revolting then and the dissatisfaction today?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but it's quite boring always to go to the back, but I give you one explanation and I hope it's enough, The explanation is, in the 60s, the world was open. We were afraid from nothing. There was a movement against the Vietnam War, there was a movement for more democracy, unemployment we didn't know, climate change we didn't know, apocalyptic bombing we didn't know. Now the situation is that the people who are going on the street are afraid because unemployment, economic crisis, ecological crisis, financial crisis. So it's a different mood. I don't say which is better or not, it's completely different, and I think it's much more complicated to be young today than it was 50 years ago.
Okay, so then how would an analysis from a leftist perspective...
I'm not a leftist.
Okay. How would you regard yourself or describe yourself?
I'm an ecological reformist.
And what is it exactly that you're trying to reform?
Well, we try to find majority in Europe to fight climate change, to find a majority to regulate capitalists, to reform the financial system, to regulate globalization. This is the steps, and this is a task that we have in front of us.
Okay, but surely you have some kind of convictions about what is just, what is not just, what is the right way.
Yes, I think my conviction is we need a more just, more egalitarian, and more responsible society. We are living in a system which is not responsible and not sustainable. And this is what I'm fighting against. I'm fighting for more responsibility, more equality, and more justice, and more freedom.
How should that responsibility take shape?
But the responsibility takes shape in that you feel responsible for you and for the other. For the rich part of the country and the poor. For the globalization, not responsible for here, for Holland, or for Germany, or for France, but also what happened in Africa, or also in the south of Europe. So this is a sense of solidarity and responsibility that I defend.
So basically, solidarity is an important value for you.
Yes, solidarity in responsibility.
So how should governments and European institutions make that solidarity concrete?
Well, they have to make that solidarity concrete to ease the country, for example, for the interest rate, to give them the time to make their reform, then to mobilize financial for investment. This is the solidarity, but the investment not only in general, but in an investment in ecological responsible industry.
At the current time, we find that voters are much divided between left and right and are dissatisfied.
No, they are divided between different. The majority of the voters are divided in different form of conservatism.
Could you elaborate?
Yes,
on
I
that?
think there is a form of left conservatism and there is a form of right conservatism. And the problem is that the answer of the crisis is neither the left conservatism nor the right conservatism. But really, it's what we discussed today is that the ecological approach is the approach for the modernization of our system. And this ecological approach is refused by the traditional left, also the far left, and the traditional right, and the far right, and the conservatives.
For those of us who weren't there, or the viewers who weren't here, could you specify a little bit what you mean with ecological approach?
Well, I think that the only sphere of investment who will have also a big social response is the investment in the ecological transformation. A lot of money that we pay for petrol and gas that we buy. So we must have a renewable-based society, because this is renewable. We free money for other modernization. Now we are completely binded by the energy consumption of non-renewable energy like gas and petrol. So this is the base that we have to change.
So basically government should help to create an investment
The government
climate.
should make the rules that small and middle enterprise can go in the market with a proposition of renewable, and this will create jobs. Since the German is going on this, Germany, they created nearly 1 million jobs.
Okay, but most voters still tend to choose for or opt for those conservative parties, either on the left or on the right. So how should a progressive party, or several progressive parties, how should they try to
A Green Party should say the truth, what they mean, and try to change the mood of a society. It's complicated, but you can't, it's not magic. It's a hard work to say, look, if you want more social equality, you will only get it with social program if we change the way of life, if we change the way of our economy. This is our message, and then we have to fight. You win an election, you lost an election, but you have to stick to your profound orientation.
So what is the future for progressive
I don't know, progressive, I don't know what it is, I can tell you the future of an ecological perspective.
Okay.
Right? Because everybody say they are progressive, D66 is progressive, SP is progressive, the PVDA is progressive, it doesn't bring us very much.
Okay, let me rephrase that. If a party or a movement has sympathy for the kind of reforms you would like to see,
then vote for the Green Left.
How should they then engage with the public? Through grassroots reform, or
both? They should engage through grassroots movement. They should engage in voting for Green Left. We have to change the superstructure of politics, and we have to change the base. They have to go in the trade unions, change the trade unions. There is no one way of doing politics. There is not one way only of doing politics.
another theme in your reform is that you say the nation state is basically over and we should strive to more European integration. How does that look like?
Well, I think that if you take the ecological crisis, the financial crisis, the globalization crisis, you can't solve it by nation state. You need a European project. And to need this project, you need to have an idea of European sovereignty with a real European democracy. This is the perspective. But it's very long now. You don't have as much time. Now I can only push you the idea, you know.
Last question. With tensions rising, we see for instance, in Greece, we see movements turning to violence. Now coming from, and I'm sorry to bring it up again, but then I'll stop, coming from a movement that had some violent tendencies in the 70s. What would your reflections on that be?
Well, no. Well, we have in Greece. In Greece, you have a population who is suffering from his own past, from the incapacity of the political Greek parties and their own capacity, and now for a reform agenda from the European level and from the International Monetary Fund, who is not functioning. So what we have to do is to give the Greek time, but we give the Greek time also that the Greek acknowledged all the error that they have made the last 20 years. And we have acknowledged where we didn't care about the system in Greece during the time that we could sell them weapons for the army. So it is a double responsibility. So I think that we have to help to come out of the violence, is to give time and breathe to the Greek society.
Daniel Cohn-Bendit, I thank you for this interview.
It's okay.